What's up, nerds? I am Kwam, and welcome to my League Breakdown series. In this video, we are going to be breaking down the Incursion mechanic, also known as the Temple. Let's go. Alva, the Master Explorer, will first run into you in Act 7 in the Causeway. You can choose to engage with her here, or you can continue to run by her because she will randomly appear in other areas as you're finishing the campaign, and she will also sometimes appear randomly in maps. Once you engage with her, she'll show you a map of the temple. Now, the temple always has 2 fixed rooms, the apex and the entrance, and 11 RNG rooms, which are all of the rest of these. They can spawn as these rooms that have no Roman numeral, which means they provide no reward, or they can be named rooms, denoted by, I guess, the tier of the room, which ranks from 1 to 3, and it tells you the reward within them. And if you'll mouse over these empty rooms, you'll see that there are no special bonuses or anything allotted to them. As I mentioned, the first time you run into this, it's completely random. You have no way to set or influence the initial layout of the temple. The passageways between the rooms are also randomly generated. However, as you continue to run the temple, you can open up passages between all of the rooms if you have good RNG, and then you can eventually forge your way to the apex for the pinnacle boss, if you will. So now let's break down an encounter with Alva and see what that looks like. Here you are, you're just rolling through your map and you're like, oh, here's this chick. What's going on, Alva? When you talk to her, she's going to tell you a little story. She's going to show you the current map of the temple, and then she's going to give you this little room breakdown here. So let's talk about this for a second. Each room always has 2 options. The golden up arrow means that you can upgrade this room 1 tier. Notice the border around this room, also it matches the title here. So the Shrine of Empowerment. You upgrade it, and it'll become a tier 2 Shrine of Empowerment. However, you do have the option with these 2 arrows, you can change it to a separate room. In this case, it tells you that if you kill this architect, it will change it to a guardhouse. Now, if you're new, you may not know what those rooms are, and it may sound like a pain to go look them up and see what the bonuses of those rooms are. It'll come with time. There will be a few rooms that I will tell you at the end of the video that will kind of nudge you towards selecting certain rooms. But for now, usually you'll want to upgrade your rooms to try and get them to that tier 3 where the best bonuses exist. The second thing that I want you to look at are these passageways. Green indicates that the passage is open. Red indicates that it's closed. Now, this map of this room is rotated counterclockwise roughly 45 degrees, if you can envision it. So notice here, see, when I mouse over to this room, see how the door that is green lights up because we see this little bar here indicating the passageway is open. Whereas this one to the lower left actually goes to the left room here. And then, of course, when you mouse over this one, it will go to the cellar, and you can see it be highlighted there. And then this one down here we'll call the lower right, goes to the antechamber. It's important to kind of take a look at this before you go in, and you can plan what you want to do when you get in the incursion. The only thing that will drop inside the incursion is a stone of passage, which allows you to open one of these passageways. So before you go in there and the timer starts ticking down, you can kind of think in your head, if I get a stone of passage, which of these passageways do I want to open? Which room do I want to connect to the Shrine of Empowerment? Well, since the antechamber, which has no bonuses, I may get a good bonus there later, so I want to open that passage to it because I can at least connect to it. Or notice that these rooms are not connected with the rest of the temple from the entrance. So I might actually rethink that and go, I'm going to connect this to the cellar. And even though that these 3 are not connected to this, it's one step closer to linking the whole temple. So I'm just going to say enter the incursion.
Time to go.
And Alva will pop open a portal to the past. I will take this portal in the past, and I wanted to go to the right to kill that architect to upgrade my room. So I'll just murk that dude. Then after you kill the architect, the other one will disappear. And notice that there is a timer. The timer is based on how many enemies you kill and how fast. If you kill very slow, you may not have enough time to finish the whole room. I'm going to take this stone of passage, and remember, we said we wanted to open up this lower left door, which correlates to this door down here. I'm going to pop that door open, and then you won't see it right away, but once we leave, we will see the upgrade. And I got a second one. So now I can go with the other thing that I said was to connect this antechamber in the lower right.
Good job.
When your time runs out, you'll be ported out of the incursion, and Alva will drop tons of rewards around you. You can drop literally anything that you could drop anywhere else in the map. When you talk to Alva after the incursion, you will see the temple morph based on the changes that you made.
Find me again.
Our Shrine of Empowerment changed to a Tier 2 Sanctum of Unity, and both of those lower passageways that we opened are now connected to those two rooms. So we have made this upgrade to our temple. And we've lost one incursion. At 0 incursions, whatever temple you've made, that is what you can open and run. And we'll break that down next. Once you've completed all 12 incursions, you can open up the temple. You can speak to Alva in your hideout, or you can also have her open portals in the map that you finish the incursions on. As you can see here, I have a nice button that says Open Temple, so I can explore my beautifully handcrafted temple filled with monsters and chaos and things that want to dead me. It's okay, though. We can now explore the fruits of our labor. After you take Alva's portals, you'll be teleported outside the temple. As you can see here, we are outside, and we have to run up to the entrance. We are accompanied by Alva, and she will occasionally cast a large buff for 5 minutes, right there, that increases your quantity and rarity. So you might want to get her stand close to her instead of just running like I am to have her cast that buff on you early on. So it impacts all of your drops. Now, you notice the level of this temple in the upper right is level 82. The level of the temple is an average of all the incursions you have completed, then add 10, and that is capped by the highest level incursion you completed. So what does that mean? So let's just say that you finished, a few incursions during the campaign, and then you did some in low maps, then you did a few in yellow maps, and let's say you did one at like level 80, so like low reds, right? So you add all the levels of those you complete together and add 10, you'd probably be at 83. However, because the highest level incursion that you ran was level 80, you will be limited to level 80. In my instance here, the highest level incursion I completed was level 82. So that's all I get. So you can press your League button to open up the temple, and so notice it will highlight the room that you're in. We are in the entrance. So from here, I can only go in certain directions based on what I've opened. I can go to the upper right, I can go to the left, or I can go to the right. I have an Office of Cartography Tier 2, which gives me maps, and it even tells me contains chest full of maps. And I'm just getting to the apex for you all so you can kind of see how this works. So at the apex, we walk in. This thing will rise up out of the ground. Basically take it down to half health. I should probably properly charge my Earthquake. Take it down to half health, and then it goes invulnerable in the middle of the room. Depending on what rooms you have upgraded inside your temple, you can get extra buffs or make this fight more difficult. For example, you can add more fire damage to this, which will cause room effects. You can add more lightning damage. You can even have additional minions spawn. It all depends on how you build your temple. And these rooms are clearly marked in the ways that they do this. Now, when you kill the Omnitech, you'll drop vials and rare temple rewards. Now, you don't always get a vial. It's totally random. I'll explain vials later on. The items sometimes are really good. They're rares. Kind of check them out and see what the temple mods are to see if they're worth selling. There's also some uniques that drop, but nothing to write home about. So after you've defeated the Omnitech, you are free to explore the rest of the temple. We're not going to do that now. Now we're going to move into a breakdown of some of the important rooms. As of 3.13, there are 25 upgradable rooms in the temple. You're probably asking yourself, well, I don't know, when it comes to selecting the right room for you. I'm going to talk to you right now about some of the best rooms that you can have. And I'm going to read these. It's slightly out of date, but I'm going to read these from PoE Lab, which I'm going to put a link in the description below that you can go and check these out. It tells you all 3 rooms, the upgrade path, and what the rewards are. But I'll tell you the best ones that I personally prefer to try and morph into my temple. The first, Surveyor's Study. If you're looking to sustain maps, the Surveyor's Study upgrades to an Atlas of Worlds, and as I mentioned earlier, contains 3 map chests. So you can get some pretty decent drops, and you can get unique map drops out of them as well. Another room, which I happen to have here, is the Vault. The Vault is just straight currency. So unless there's something better for that particular room, just go with it, because it's just raw, basic currency. The next one is a Gem Cutter's Workshop. The Gem Cutter's Workshop upgrades to the Doriani Institute, which allows you to double corrupt a gem. And that is how you get the level 21, 23% quality gems floating around. You can get them as drops via some mechanics and via rituals, but they all came from the temple originally. The next one would be a Corruption Chamber. The Corruption Chamber upgrades to a Locus of Corruption, which is what allows you to double corrupt any item in the game. Now, this does not mean that you're guaranteed to get something good. However, the trade-off for having your item either brick or poof, just like when you're corrupting an item with a Val Orb, you can, however, get a double implicit on an item. So this is where people that have the really good 6 links that are running for 50 exalts plus with 2 awesome implicits, this is where they're coming from. So one of the better rooms that you can get inside your temple. Another room is the Sacrificial Chamber. I don't happen to have any of the, I don't have that one in my temple either. When you get the Sacrificial Temple to tier 3, it allows you to do a couple different things. First, you can just exchange a unique item for another one of the same type. And you can get league specific items. So what does that mean? You could potentially get a Headhunter from a tier 3 Sacrificial Chamber. The other mechanic that you can do with that particular room is those vials that I was talking about before. You can put a temple specific item in there with a vial, and it transforms into a new item. Most of the items are worthless and not worth very much, but depending on the league, some of those are reasonably decent. I'll put a link below in the description to help you understand what those particular items are. And then I will also say, at least for 3.13, what the valuable uniques are. Next, they have the Splinter Research Lab, which allows you to get breaches. If you enjoy doing breaches, I would say go ahead and do that room. The next one is really situational if you want to do it or not. I personally don't do it too often, but you can get Atziri inside your temple. The Royal Meeting Room upgrades to the Throne of Atziri, and the Atziri engagement will be in your temple. If you're not familiar with the Atziri mechanic, if you don't have some kind of sustain or way to mitigate reflect, don't do it. You might kill yourself. The next one that I think is pretty good would probably be skipping all the way to the Shrine of Empowerment. Now, this room inherently doesn't give you anything. However, if you get this to tier 3, all the connected rooms next to it will gain a level. In this case, it would only be my Splinter Research Lab and my Hall of Offerings. However, it would make this one, which is a base sacrificial room, it would make this tier 3, so I could get that really good exchange potential. One of the other ones that is not on the PoE lab is the Hall of Metal. This is just a Legion encounter. It has a monolith inside the room. You click it, and depending on the tier, depends on what will spawn inside the room. When it's a tier 2, you will get hordes in the room, which will drop a lot of timeless splinters. And if it's tier 3, you'll also get generals and hordes to spawn inside that room. So if you're enjoying the Legion mechanic, I would encourage you to get those in there as well. The last room that I will talk about, if for some reason you're having a lot of trouble connecting rooms to where you want to go, the last room that you may want to include near the end of when you're running out of incursions is an explosives room. An explosive room has a barrel, basically like a powder keg in it, that you can use in the modern day temple, which I'm in right now, to blow open a path to one of the rooms that's blocked. So for example, over here, notice since I did not open this passageway in any incursions, I can't walk through here. But with a powder keg or an explosives keg, I can put it here and it'll open this up, and then I will be free to move into this room. And that will work with any of the closed doors between any of the rooms. If you have a tier 3 explosives room, you will get 3 kegs to use. 2 for a tier 2 and 1 for a tier 1. And that kind of breaks down which of the rooms I think are the most beneficial. The other ones will cause changes in the temple. As I indicated, they'll change the way the fight occurs. Some increase the size of monster packs in the temple. Some increase the number of magic packs in the temple. And then there's also a whole bunch of other effects. Corruption chambers will reduce your maximum resistances, but it's worth the trade-off to have those. The least reliable method is by using prophecies. There's a prophecy called A Master Seeks Help, and there's one for each of the masters. And you see here I have Alva. There's no guarantee this will proc when you go inside a map. And it will also conflict with other masters that are running on your map, because any map can only have one master at a time. The next way is to use sextants. On your atlas, you can use prime or awaken sextants on your watchstones and roll until you get area contains Alva. Again, you could go through quite a few sextants before you roll this mod. So again, it's still not economically viable for you to do that. The best way is to use the master missions for Alva. So when you put an atlas inside, or when you put a map inside your map device and you hit the button to engage this mechanic, it guarantees that Alva will spawn on your map once you activate. Now, if you happen to have a sextant in the region of the map that you're playing in for a different master, these master buttons will override that, and the sextant will not be used up. And by that I mean, so if you have 3 uses left for area contains Nico, and you say, hey, I want Alva to be in my map, after you run this map, there will still be 3 uses of Nico left on that sextant. So that's just something to keep in mind. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hopefully this has helped lift the fog surrounding this particular mechanic. If it helped you, please like and subscribe if you want to stay alert when I release new videos on other mechanics. This is my foray into releasing new content and publishing new videos. So if there's anything y'all would want to see, please put it in the comments below, and I can try and get you all the content that you need to help you progress as an exile. See y'all later, nerds.